Thank you for inviting me tonight. I'm very hot. Well, it's going to be a different election this year all across the United States. Many across the nation are very frustrated and about the poor economy, and can't hear me. I'm sorry about that. And they're disillusioned by the threat of losing some of their freedoms. If you go back and study history, you find out when things are tight, a lot of bad things happen. Governments sometimes clamp down in ways they shouldn't, and people do things they shouldn't either. But it takes a lot of leadership in times like these. The economy is going to worsen over the next couple of years, according to experts. It's not going to get better for a while. So state and federal funding is going to disappear, is what I'm being told. And but that doesn't mean, as a county, we can't weather the storm. I believe we can. But we need unity and moral leadership in these days. And I think that's very, very important. And we don't see that a lot in a lot of departments across the United States. I will not promise you things that common sense tells us that we can't do. You hear a lot of people during elections stand up and promise you the sun, moon, and the stars. Tell you they're going to do this and going to do that. But if the money's not there, you can't do it. You have to get creative. We cannot afford more debt that would stifle our communities and stifle our ability to do things. We can't go in debt more. We can't take more loans. We can't keep taking grants. After a while, that's got to stop somewhere, because you're creating national deficit when you do that. Nothing's free. Nothing's free. As your sheriff, I would live within the means at our disposal and work very closely with the county commissioners. I think that's real important. I don't think that's happened too often lately. County commissioners haven't had a lot of cooperation from the sheriff's department in that way. But I would like to say a sheriff is not a one-man show. He is not a one-man show. He is not a dictator. He's got to work with the community and with the community leaders. My duty as sheriff, according to the Supreme Court, is to protect your freedoms guaranteed by the U.S. Constitution, thereby giving you every opportunity to excel under free enterprise in the spirit of American entrepreneurship. A lot of the things that are coming down today really aren't fair, they're not constitutional, and they're not even legal in some respects. I would resist all agencies of this nation in your stead who would go beyond constitutional parameters, yet I must enforce all state laws. The sheriff has to do that. Sometimes that's not comfortable. But if you want to change laws, I like to tell people, if you want to change laws, you have to work with your legislators. The sheriff can't change laws for you. And some people call the sheriff's department and want them to do all kinds of things, but the sheriff's main job is protecting your freedoms. He can't change laws. I will keep my oath of office to the very letter, as I have already proven in the U.S. Marines. My background is as follows. I have 8 years in the U.S. Marines as a forward observer and communicator for Naval Intelligence in the CIC. That's the command and control of the aircraft carrier, in case you don't know what that is. But a lot of my training in the Marine Corps was police-type training at Camp Lejeune, which Camp Lejeune trains police officers from all over America. So we get a lot of the same training as far as the tactical training goes. In the Marines, I was cross-trained as a medic. My last 2 years, I was a platoon sergeant with 67 men under my command. I spent 3 years as a Republican delegate and 3 years working with Jesse Helms' administration, dealing with UN and other foreign agencies that weren't exactly friendly to your freedoms. We were trying to stand against them. I have 16 years of operating a small business, and I'm a husband of 20 years and a father of 3 children. I like to bring that up because I have a very stable family life. I don't have baggage. I don't have things that's going to keep me from being faithful to my job, because I have a very loving wife, a very supportive wife, and very well-behaved children. Well, that was short. Thanks very much.
Yeah, my question is for Russell. Russell, can you tell me the difference between right to travel as opposed to driving?
Right to travel.
Stand on that?
Well, I believe I'll support any constitutional mandate. But there's a lot of things. Like I said, the sheriff is not a policymaker. I cannot make policy. I know what you're getting at. I've studied that. I certainly understand it, but I am not a policymaker.
Okay, but you do recognize the difference.
Yes, I do. I do recognize the difference, but I have to enforce the laws of the state.
You will uphold the law as it is written, or as it is interpreted by certain individuals.
Well, the Washington State Supreme Court would have the ruling on that.
Yes, it does.
And I have to follow what they say.
Right.
I don't have a choice. Even though I may agree or disagree with you, it wouldn't matter. I have to do my job. And of course, as a sheriff, there's going to be things I don't agree with.
You know the Supreme Court does recognize the difference between a right to travel and...
Yes, sir.
Very clear about that.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. Is that good?
Any others? Yes.
I'd like Mr. Bolton to discuss the fact that the law enforcement officer, that is the sheriff, is the only elected law enforcement officer that we have in the nation, and what you know about it and how you feel about it.
Sure. Yes, the sheriff is the only elected law enforcement officer, and it's very important because he is the only one that has the legal power to protect the citizens from illegal activity of their own government. Now, still, it has to be within constitutional parameters, obviously. But yes, the sheriff has, in fact, most sheriffs across America don't even know their powers. They don't know the powers they have to protect the people. And I think a lot of them are starting to learn that now because of the crunch coming down from the federal government now. They're starting to learn that. And in fact, there's a lot of programs being put on right now by different sheriffs that have a lot of experience in that now to teach sheriffs how to stand against the federal government legally within constitutional parameters. Is that good?
Thank you.
Well,
Okay, let's give a hand to our sheriff candidates and they can retire from the stage.